What is up, friends? My name is Antihero and welcome to Planet Zoo. I have been playing a lot, and I mean a lot, of Planet Coaster on my channel over on Twitch lately, and Planet Zoo was something that I decided I wanted to check out. But what we're going to do here is we're going to play the career mode on our YouTube channel, and we're going to do a little series on the career mode Planet Zoo here on YouTube. So let's get started, shall we? Let's click on career. Okay, so we've got some career scenarios. So the tutorial: stately homeschooling at Goodwin House. Let's take a look. Goodwin House. Renovated and renamed after its purchase by Bernard Goodwin in the 1980s, Goodwin House has since become one of the most respected zoos in the country. More recently, it has undergone a further renovation to update many of the habitats and facilities, but due to various issues, the work hasn't been quite completed, which is where you come in. Oh, you can change the difficulty as well. We'll leave it at medium, since we're new to the game. In medium difficulty, you can expect animals never get bored of enrichment items. Guests won't request refunds. 5-star guest happiness rating requires an average happiness of about 85%. Okay, that sounds good for now. Let's do it. Starting now.
At Hematu. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets. As you know, I own several zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home. This is the first zoo I ever opened, and a source of great pride for me. And prides, thanks to a lion breeding program we ran in the 80s. But we're in the middle of a big renovation, and that's where you come in. Sadly, our old contractor had to retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil kept sneezing his dentures into the lion habitat. So, it's up to you to finish everything off. Don't worry, though. I'm not completely throwing you into the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that isn't on fire. Less shouting that way.
Cool,
Hello
okay.
there. From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on. But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals. We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
Alright, so I'm going to take a wild guess and say that the controls are very much the same as Planet Coaster, sorry. Although Q and E goes up and down. Okay. Fair, they don't rotate. What does rotate? Z, no, Z, C, no. Okay, that's fine, we'll figure it out. Okay, the grizzly bear habitat. I'm guessing it's this flashy one over here. This one?
Did you know
that looks like a bear to me.
Bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months a year. Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too.
Oh, we've got a couple of bears in here, taking a little
one of the bears
swim.
Bring up its information panel.
Select one of the bears and bring up its information panel. Okay, let's click on this bear here.
This
Zachary.
is where you can find out all kinds of information about your animal. The most important thing being its overall welfare.
Okay,
You'll learn more about animal welfare today
that's pretty
as
good.
we go through your objectives. But for now, let's enjoy this magnificent animal. Why don't you select the camera at the bottom of its information panel?
Okay, so much like riding a roller coaster in Planko, you can... Oh, that's cool. Oh,
See,
God.
This is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals.
Yeah, fantastic way to get a close look of it taking a dump.
By simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
Okay, so you can double click as well. Can you double click out? How do you get out of this? Escape. Escape works. Let's close this panel. What do we need to do here? Wait, no. Where are our objectives? There we go. Locate the West African lion habitat. Okay, so let's just hover, because I'm pretty sure it'll be doing a little... There it is.
Panthera Leo Leo. All the West African lion to you and me. Lions are the most social of the big cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride. Although prides of that size are pretty rare. As Bernie would say, those lions are awesome. Which is precisely why I handle the training instead these days. Anyway, how about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to an empty habitat and see what needs doing there.
Okay. Off to an empty habitat. Q and E not rotating is really confusing me. I see this one over here. Here we go. Our empty habitat.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well,
animals.
Two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
Okay. Use the animal trading menu to adopt the warthogs. Okay, down here.
There we are. A pair of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select adopt from the side menu.
Okay.
Normally the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works.
There we go.
The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Okay, click to place your warthogs in their habitat. Okay, I'm going to guess that's select all. Yes, it is. And send to zoo. And then we'll just click where we want.
When you ask for an animal to be moved into a habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal, and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location, so let's go and watch the caretakers in action.
Have you marked it? I don't see it. Oh, here it is.
Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course, normally we'd have to place the animals into quarantine before moving them into a habitat, but I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in the zoo has an overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat, and enrichment.
Okay.
Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information.
Okay, so we've got like an encyclopedia.
Let's start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl.
Okay, so these drop downs give you a lot more information here. Social group, space, stress, habitat, cleanliness, temperature, terrain, plants, hardship. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. So, what did it say? Habitat. Food trough, small. Place that down there. And then we want a large water bowl as well. And we'll place that down.
Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in.
Okay.
That bath will count towards their enrichment welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare.
Okay, so same as Planet Coaster, Z to rotate, Shift does this kind of stuff. That's cool. Just get that on the ground. Obstructed? You're not obstructed.
Oh,
there we go.
Nice work. You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, Our contractor had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a pharaoh state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat. It's over near the hippos.
Okay, so let's head... Oh, there you go, nice. Here we are.
Oh, before we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause the game. Just click the pause button in the bottom right corner.
I assume you can press P as well. Yes.
That's more like it.
You can.
A quick break. Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused while we get this ostrich habitat built.
Okay.
Okay. Job number 1 here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out?
Exactly.
Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it.
Okay, so we want here, and we want the thingy. And that can go pretty much anywhere we want it, just there. Perfect.
Let's complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier.
Okay, we just... Yes, we can. Gonna assume that we can... Yes. Oh no, that's the... Okay, can you shorten it? How do you shorten it? Have I done this wrong? There we go, length.
Good
there you go.
Remember, before you can place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat
yeah, it's a bit
at the moment.
brick wally.
At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier so the guests can see in.
Okay, well, can we... Hold on. Get it. I understand. Right, so we'll do this corner here.
There we go.
Assume there we go.
Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them.
There you go.
Now, before we adopt our ostriches, you should click the play button. After all, if the game's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches, eh?
That does make sense, yes, it does.
By the way,
does make sense.
As well as pausing the game, you can speed the game up by clicking on the fast forward button. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're waiting for money to accumulate or for animals to be delivered to your habitat. Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish.
Of course you do.
All right, you've finished the habitat, so it's high time we adopted those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
Okay, so we need our 4 ostriches. Can you select all of the ostriches at the same time? No. There we go. And then if we go here, we can go there, and we can go center zoo.
While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item.
Okay,
it's
so
often
it kind
best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat perimeter, so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
And then there you go. Bronze done.
Oh, good to see the ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you know
we've unlocked
they
a
can actually
lion
run
bronze
at
statue.
43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did he do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals. You'll need to rotate the keeper hut to get it to connect up to the path.
There we go. Done.
This keeper hut only has space for one keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots
don't like
of guests.
Of course.
Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness negatively. In case that wasn't
It was
clear,
Nancy, but thank you for clarifying.
Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we?
Okay, so this
Now, the reason everything has gone
new.
blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map allows you to see what is and what isn't powered in your zoo. So once you've placed your transformer, you can click in the bottom left to turn the heat map off.
Okay, well, it's already off, so...
Lovely work. Now the keepers can start using the hut to prepare food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos.
No, they won't.
Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm afraid there's nothing ready for them yet. Head on over to the plot of land I've marked out. It's not too far away. Righty, your next job is to build a habitat from scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier.
Okay, so we want...
Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers.
Yeah, I'll keep the wall relatively short here. Now we can ramp the length up. Go. Bring that down a little bit. 5, will that fit? Perfect. Okay, so that's that done, and then we will grab the door, and the door can go on this side.
Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier.
Right.
Okay then. You should start by double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode.
Yep.
Great. Now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by clicking and dragging the barrier selection tool.
There we go.
Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards.
Gotcha.
You'll want to make sure it reaches a height of at least 3.7 meters.
3.7 meters.
Now that the habitat is in place, don't forget to put down a donation box near to your viewing areas. We need every dollar we can get.
But
especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch.
I want to do all of that glass, and we'll do come over this side. And we'll do that as glass as well. Wait, what? Why do you not work? There you go. Why didn't it work the first time? No? Okay, well, I guess we've got a nice little glass bit here. So let's do our donation box.
Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers.
Perfect. Animal trading, animal market, 2 tigers. There we go. And let's throw you guys in
Whilst
here.
our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival.
Perfect.
We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them.
Okay, habitat. Food tray large.
This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into terrain and selecting the water tool.
Okay, so that's exactly the same as Planko.
Yes,
That's
that'll
fine.
do nicely. Of course,
Straight
just like
in.
the warthogs and
Aw.
ostriches, these tigers will also need some enrichment.
Look at
Why
this.
don't you add some suitable toy and food
This is
enrichment
awesome.
items into their habitat?
Okay. So we need some bits and bobs. Oh, a rubbing pad. Okay, cool. Let's throw a rubbing pad there. And
Okay, it's
anything
really
there.
starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely, the bad weather. Although, given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build
Okey-doke.
one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you.
Yeah, we'll use the blueprint for now. Where can I put this? It's going to be decent. Should we put it at this back wall? Let's put it at this back wall here. Kind of like that.
Oh, poor Dabs.
Can I move
I'm sure
this?
it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's
Can't.
because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring up its information panel.
Okay.
Rightio, click on the terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain
Oh, yeah.
information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat.
So insufficient shelter
Okay
space.
then, open the terrain editing tool, select painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
Hold on, I'm going to move this. I'm going to put that there. Terrain. There we go. It's because that was in the way. So they need more grass, more long grass, and more soil. So terrain painting, long grass. Are you doing it? Yes, you are. Oh no, they need more short grass. Oh, I'm putting too much long grass in. Let's get rid of it. And they need more soil, so let's put soil. Let's do that here. There you go. Silver done.
They say the good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger.
Scenario
Still,
unlocked. The
those
8
tigers look
apprenticeship.
so happy that I doubt they'd leave. Even if you did poke a hole in their fence.
Another one. Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
And we've unlocked a silver lion statue,
Let's head over to the
Bornean
Indian
orangutan
peafowls.
stone
I've been
statue,
told
and
that
a
we need to
timberwolf stone
improve their
statue.
social welfare.
Okay, so now we're going over to peafowls, did
Now
she
then,
say?
just find one of the peafowls and select them to open their information panel. Then we can have a
Okay.
good gander at how they're doing. Although technically, I suppose gandering would just be for geese.
So they haven't got enough. Too
Expand
few
their
adults
social
and
welfare,
juveniles.
and we can get a bit more
Got
detail.
it.
Now, they've clearly got plenty
Gotcha.
of space, and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's
they
find
need
out
more.
more. Click on the social tab at the top of their information panel to see what's wrong. Right, as you can see, the peafowls need their population to be larger. To solve this little problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls. Off you pop to the animal market then.
Alrighty. And conveniently, they're already here. There we go. Let's get these guys.
Good work on those
Sent.
peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
Okay. Over to snow leopard area.
Just like people,
I can already
animals
tell
can
what's wrong.
suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards, they're a
Not
bit
enough snow.
stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their cave for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests. Of course, when an
There we
animal
go.
isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather. You should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat.
Okay, I'm on. Oh, there's a bunch of options at the top here. I didn't even look.
As
Okay.
you can see, we
Wow,
already
that's
have one
way too
cooler
hot.
in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily
Okay.
for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
Put one there. One there.
You can
One there.
find heat maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them.
Okay, and that
It'll
should
take a
solve
little
our
while
problem.
for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Yes, let's make that happen. Increase terrain welfare to 100%. Let's turn off this heat map. Where is there a leopard in here? Are you hiding? There you are. I see you. Here. There we go. Right. And my thing is to increase terrain welfare. Terrain. So they need less long grass. Bull rock is fine. Loads of snow. Okay, fine. Fine. Terrain. Snow. Let's sort that problem out for you. Come back though. Come back. Terrain. We can just put more snow, I think.
Now then,
Done.
all of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important statistic. Now, to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into zoo management and then into the animals section.
Yeah.
As you can see, this list shows you the animal's overall welfare. So if something's amiss, then you can quickly pop over to them using the locate button.
Okay.
I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
So our giraffes, our zebras, and our turtles look like they've got some issues. That's fine. Okay, so turtles are welfare. They need hard shelters. Okay, habitat. Beds and shelters. Can we... Filters, species. There we go. Oh, wait. Giant tortoise. Let's get a decent size one. There you go. Has some issues. See, that's saying it's not sufficient. So can we... Last time we just moved. Is that better? It's not enough space. Keeps changing its mind. Okay, well let's just let's put another one down. It's got to be enough. Enrichment. Food and toy enrichment. Okay, no problem. Enrichment items. And have I still got the filter for this species on? Yes, I do. Wonderful. Let's put a small ball down. Requires aquatic duck expansion. Well, I don't have that, so let's put a little thing down. Block of frozen fruit.
Not bad.
There we go.
Not bad at
And we're done.
all. I think it's fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours. There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
Great. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching the first episode of Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster. Planet Zoo. I've
Sounds
got to
like
get
you
used to
got
saying
the
that. Planet
whole
Zoo.
zoo purring away nicely.
Join me
Well,
next time as we move
purring,
on
grunting,
to the
screaming,
second
booming.
part of the career mode
All the,
in Planet Zoo.
appropriate
Guys, thank you very much
noises.
for watching.
I
I'll see you
guess
next
I
time.
was
Bye bye.
right to hire you, huh? Don't tell her I told you, but Nancy wasn't sure you'd even last the morning.